Alright, hi and welcome. This is Critical Discussions, episode 5. And there's a lot of news today, and let's just jump into it. Let's just start with the news about something relatively minor, relatively easy to discuss, I guess, given the current situation in general. And this is that St. Petersburg is basically without foreign tourists. Which is really interesting because it's quite a beautiful city. It's a cultural, you could say, capital of Russia, and I love the city. I visited a couple times, and yeah, it's really cool actually. However, obviously after Russia invaded Ukraine, the nobody really goes to Russia. Prior to that, it was coronavirus, obviously, and so the difference between 2019 and 2022 is astonishing. In 2019, almost 5 million people, 5 million tourists, international tourists, visited the city, while in 2022 is just 130,000. So it dropped from 4.9 million to 0.1 million, which is insane. It's basically like the tourist industry is killed in St. Petersburg, which is hard to believe because, once again, there were always a lot of people visiting the city and whatnot, but not anymore. Not anymore. So, not much to say about this, just wanted to acknowledge this fact because, once again, from almost 5 million down to 0.1 million. Just insane drop off. Insane drop off. Excuse me, my cat is. Every time I start streaming, every time I'm starting to record something, this exact second the cat starts scratching and meowing in front of the door. It's fucking annoying. I would be sitting doing nothing for hours and hours and hours. No need to enter my room. No need to interrupt me. The second I'm starting streaming, the second I'm at the microphone, meow 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 scratching the door. Assholes. Cats are fucking assholes. Anyway, so there's that. From 5 million in 2019 down to zero point 0.1 in 2022. Tourist industry is dead basically in Russia. All right, let's also talk about several things about stupid shit that Russian garbage publications are actually spitting out. So the title goes, the West cannot strangle China, although it tries really hard. That's the title of RIA Novosti, which is propagandists, one of the main propagandist channels, media. And what's interesting is obviously the numbers. The numbers, because they're talking about basically imports and export and general trade between China and Russia, and also between China and the rest of the world. So since 7 months, 7 months of this year of 2022, China exported into Russia goods for $36 billion. So Russia imported $36 billion worth of goods from China. At the same time, China exported to the rest of, well, it could be exported and imported, this is not specified, but basically traded with the rest of the world for $3.5 trillion. So 100 times more. And yet this article goes to say that, trade between Russia and China is going up, and we will be friends together. We're gonna kind of stand against USA, I guess you could say something like that, which is quite interesting that in this article they're stating that $3.5 trillion is trade of China with the rest of the world and 36 billion with Russia. And yet they're still coming into absolutely ridiculous conclusions. Just kind of, was it? Yeah. So once again, Russia imported goods from China for $36 billion. At the same time, US imported goods from China for $270 billion, which is 8 times more, almost 9 times more. So will China really, to help Russia, risk losing 8 times more trade with United States alone? Not even counting Europe, obviously. Do you think Chinese people, Chinese government is completely brain dead? As brain dead as Russian? I really, really doubt it. Really doubt it. And so, yeah, just this interesting article that they are putting numbers themselves, and you can go and check out the other numbers. Again, like US trade with China, like European trade with China. And still the conclusions of Russian propagandists are, no, it's all fine. It's all fine. It's all good and dandy. Which is just insane. Why would a country of China care about 1% of their trade, maybe even, let's even say 5% of their trade, to risk 95, rest 95? Like, this is insane. This is just insanity. And yet this is the notion in Russian news, Russian propaganda. So just wanted to acknowledge this fact. European Union will actually think about basically about banning Schengen visas for Russians, which is, I have mixed feelings about this. It's interesting to just from the perspective of a person like living in the CIS region, living in Belarus, and kind of reading from time to time like Russian articles, Russian propagandist shit, just to kind of stay in line, basically just to prepare for these streams, for example. And the amount of burned asses, like they're just on flames in Russia, especially in the propagandist or like this patriots, whatever Russia. They are in flames. They are furious because of this. Some of them are furious, and some just say like, wow, why do we care? Fuck them, whatever. This is the people who will never ever visit Europe or United States or any of those countries. But those who maybe perhaps were visiting European Union, so on and so forth, maybe visited for whatever vacation, something like that. They're furious, and they're like, no, we don't support this. Or even if they support Putin, they're like, no, how can you? How could you? And then this is like a press secretary of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia, absolutely brain dead, stupid shit cunt. She's like, you can't deny EU visas for the whole nation. You can't do this. Which is like, well, yes, they can. Like, why can't they? You can't force them to fucking accept you. You can't force them to give you visas. Like, yes, they can. I mean, I have a different opinion than, like, I guess a lot of people, because I do think, like, at this particular, on this particular issue, I do think, and I don't like to say it, like, I do kind of think that Russians have a little bit of a point, and I never want to be like sided with Russians, with Russian government, with this propagandist garbage. But in this case, like there are a lot of Russians who do not support this war, who do not support Putin, who do not support just this bloody regime in general, and so on and so forth, right? And a lot of them are just like not everybody has a lot of money to relocate, for example. Not everybody has a job that they can relocate easily with. Not everybody has, for example, language, for example. Like in schools in Russia and Belarus, I'm assuming in Ukraine as well, most of people learn English, and yet we've taught English at such level that you, after school, you will never be able to speak. Like just have a conversation, just do even this, just to speak into the microphone and trying to, just speaking into the microphone and trying to put your thoughts out there, because it's just taught on a pretty fucking poor level. Let's be honest, and so it's really hard to actually relocate from Russia, from Belarus. Ukraine had an agreement, at least with EU, that they could stay in EU for like up to 90 days without even visa, um, which is amazing. Which is why like I always thought like that Ukraine is this one country that actually can break away from this sort of ex-USSR garbage sort of mentality and so on and so forth. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, before war, like they had a lot of problems even back in 2012, whatever. But the mentality of Ukrainians was different than of Belarusian people and Russian people, and I always knew that it's gonna happen. It's gonna be possible for them, and obviously Butler has seen this exact thing as well, and that's why he started the war, because he didn't want Ukraine to be a democratic country. Nonetheless, I don't think that this is okay to actually just ban all the nation from entering the state. It's basically, I do kind of feel like this is, I mean, it's not the same as killing people, but you're denying people the entry. And I mean, they're talking about Schengen visas, right? So it's slightly different because it's just a tourist visas. You still can't stay on those visas and so on and so forth. But denying Schengen visas, if they will actually proceed with this, like first you deny Schengen visas, then you deny like visas D or something like that. Like there's those temporary visas, or like even permanent visas for like temporary residency or permanent residency, so on and so forth, which is even harder to get than just a Schengen visa. And so you kind of, first of all, you kind of locking down a lot of normal, good people that might want to escape. And I understand that, yes, there are other countries as well, but let's be honest, like on this European continent, Europe is the place where people want to go, not, I don't know, somewhere in Asia, whatever. And so it's kind of weird because, once again, like if somebody wants to leave, like let them leave Russia. Like let them at least have a chance to go visit other countries, go, I don't know. I mean, once again, they're talking about Schengen visas, so it's kind of tourist thing. But I'm thinking that they're not gonna issue visas, especially for countries like Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Poland probably as well. I don't think they're gonna issue visas for temporary residency, permanent residency, and I don't think it's right because it's gonna leaving a lot of people sort of one-on-one with regime, and I doubt that these countries like Eastern European countries, I doubt they're gonna take a lot of like asylum seekers, for example, from Belarus, from Russia, because of this kind of general like, I don't know how to put it, even like, it's not disdain for Russians, but nobody really wants Russians right now in their countries. At least not, at least like in Eastern Europe. I don't want to use the term Russophobia because I don't think it is that really, but it's their countries. They can do whatever the fuck they want. But I just feel like this is such a topic that it's a double-edged sword, because I've seen Russian people coming into other countries, especially Eastern Europe, and acting as complete fucking twats, as complete fucking cunts. And I feel like this is the way to go. Like, if you see people acting like that, nullify their visa, send them fucking out. Or just, if you can't nullify Schengen visa, I'm not sure how it works exactly. Just send them fucking out. They're breaking the law. They're like harassing people on the streets, like that fucking cunt on Twitter right now. I forgot what her name is. I think in Austria or something like that. Going around harassing people, then crying that, oh, my booking account was cancelled. Yeah, fuck you, cunt. Go back to Russia. You are a cunt. You should be in Russia. Yeah, like do it on a personal basis, because as much as, once again, as much as I don't want to fucking agree with Russian propagandists and fucking brain dead cunts in the government, it does kind of remind this kind of a notion that the Germans were doing, like, all Jews are bad people, let's exterminate them. Once again, it's a stretch. They're not talking about extermination. It's just about denying visa. But this is just this concept of treating the whole group as if like all people are the same in that group. And I don't like this, because I live in Belarus, and like Ukrainians, for example, especially like very um radical, I guess, like radical, like more lenient right Ukrainians, like on Twitter or whatever, would be blaming, oh yeah, you're a fucking Belarusian, you're a cunt, you caused this war basically. And I'm like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never lived in Belarus. You don't know how fucking bad it is here. Like, you lived in Ukraine, which is a corrupt country, but with military and police who does not like fucking beat up people all day every day without like any repercussions basically. You have never lived in that country. Like, don't tell me about my country and like that I haven't done enough during the protests in 2022 and so on and so forth. I've done what I could, and people have been doing what they could back then, and then suddenly it all went to shit because the repressive machine is absolutely atrocious here. And so, like, when people judge me as a part of the group, as like a Belarusian, I'm like, I don't have anything in common with those Belarusians that you're talking about. And so there are a lot of, I'm assuming, I'm not assuming, I know there are a lot of Russians that feel the same. Like, they're living in Russia, they're already in inner emigration. There's a term for that. That's called inner emigration. The term that specifically talks about this, the concept of an individual or social group who feels a sense of alienation from their country, government, culture. This is exactly me. For like 10 years, I haven't watched like a movie in Russian. I haven't read for like last like 7 years anything like news in Russian, whatever, things like that. I'm not interested in this society in this country because they're rotten. I despise this, and I'm assuming there are a lot of people like that in Russia, in Belarus. And so, if you are treating, if European Union will actually do this, just ban entry for all Russians, and I'm assuming Belarusians then will follow as well. Ban for Belarusian, that is, people will follow or might follow as well. I don't think it's right. I just wanted to acknowledge this fact that I disagree with this. I have my own obviously vested interest in this because I don't want to be denied ever entering Europe, which again, like I've went to like Austria many times. I dated a girl there. I been to Italy. I liked fucking Europe, for fuck's sake. And I do really deeply dislike Russia and Belarus. So like punishing people like me, for example, or similar people, I don't think it's right. I don't even if it's just about Schengen stuff. And once again, I don't think there will be granting a lot of asylum seeking statuses to people from these regions left and right. So yeah, let's continue. I mean, I don't want to even talk about it. Sergei Shoigu, who is the Minister of Defense in Russia, just put some medals on some cunts who were attacking Ukraine. there's about that. Um, Ministry of Defense of Ukraine actually said that I like this game that Ukrainians are playing right now, because this was for the longest time it was the Russians' game. Like, oh, especially when they were invading Crimea in 2014, they were denying that this little green man, as it's called proverbially, it was the Russian military, obviously, and Putin later in like 2017 or 18 in an interview said, yeah, of course it was our guys. Like, what the fuck? Like, why are you even saying this? Why are you asking? It was an interview. I remember. Google it or search it on YouTube. You're gonna be surprised how much of a cunt that cunt is. And the West, since that time, 2017 or 18, still was continuing buying gas, oil, and further dependency on Russia, which is brain dead. And these people, European fucking politicians, now want to deny visas to law-abiding citizens. Like, they are the cause of Russia, who Russia became. They're the cause of a lot of this, because they've put Europe on a fucking oil and gas needle of Russia. Like, this is the fault of Europe as much as it's fault of brain dead fucking dictator Putin and Lukashenko, for that matter. But anyway, I like this game that the Ministry of Ukrainian Defense is playing. Like, we don't know who was striking or who bombed Crimean airstrip. I don't know. We don't know who does this. We don't know who've done it. But we're liking it. I really like this. I really like this kind of. I don't know. We didn't do it. I don't know who did this, but whoever did this, thank you very much. We appreciate it. I really enjoy this kind of a rhetoric, because Russia was thinking that they could only play this game with like putting the blame on others, and like in that famous Spider-Man comics, like a meme, like no you, it's you, and they're pointing fingers. Ukraine can do exactly the same, and it's amazing. I like this. I like this trolling game. Now that Ukraine apparently has received more and is receiving, as we speak, more and more advanced weapons, and now they're starting to actually get things done. This is amazing. I really like it, and I really like that they're gaining confidence and actually trolling Russia back. This is amazing. They also destroyed Ukrainian forces, destroyed or at least not destroyed, but damaged the bridge next to hydroelectric plant, which is good. And also Antonovsky Bridge. Just good like counteroffensive attacks that Ukrainians are doing on like critical infrastructure, on the critical infrastructure in occupied territories, and they're using the weapons very effectively. As far as I know, like almost no civilians. There are almost no like civilian casualties when they do this. So it's very precise. It's nothing like what Russia is doing. So it's great. It's really great to see that Ukraine is actually starting to get things done. Yeah. Okay. Schroeder will not be expelled from the party, and this is exactly what I was talking before about the European Union and Germany and certain agents in Germany being at fault or partially at fault for this invasion. Social Democratic Party of Germany will not expel Gerhard Schroeder. And like this is all you need. Like the 6 months of war is going on. Schroeder is going and staying in some hotel in fucking the Rosneft or close to like Rosneft, I think he was, right? I forgot where he stayed, but basically he went there to talk about. And he was actually like a in the what is it called? And so was he like on a board of Probably, like, was it a board? Yeah, it was a board of directors of Rosneft. So like, what is like? This is insane. Like people like this in Germany, they exist. He is playing into like Putin's game. He is a Putin's agent, and he has no repercussions whatsoever. While Germany is delaying constantly help to Ukraine, so on and so forth. And again, and he's not even being expelled from his party. Like, this is a rotten organization, Social Democratic Party of Germany. I don't know, like, if you're from Germany or from not. If you are, like, tell how it's viewed, this party. But to me, it seems like absolutely rotten garbage shit. If they can't even expel a man who is like definitely pro Putin's like agent, basically, at this point. I don't get it, but whatever. Let's talk next topic. Russia is closing. Russia is closing its. Wait 1 second. Wait, what? What the fuck? Russia is closing for inspections, for U.S. inspections. Their nuclear arsenal, and this is not a particularly great thing. Not something that I actually wanted to see, because I don't like this news. This is like, it's like two kind of a double-sided coin, because I feel like one thing is why Russia doesn't want United States to actually continue to monitor their nuclear arsenal is maybe because Russia is using this like nuclear, as it's called, like BET in no, it isn't called BET. Well, what is the binka? Sorry, I'm still like, not completely fluent in English. Club, yeah, of course, but club. They're using this nuclear club, as it's called in Russian, ядерная дубинка, as this like last, basically, step detergent from United States to help Ukraine and so on and so forth. Just basically, basically holding the whole world in suspense over the arsenal of Russia, nuclear arsenal of Russia. But I feel like given the state of current affairs in Russian army, and the state of the technological development in Russian army, which is abysmal, let me put it that way, I feel like the Russians might have closed these inspections because United States might find out that actually Russian nuclear arsenal is in absolutely abysmal shape and is like barely functional. And then the nuclear threat from Russia will be completely sort of nullified. That's one thing. Another thing is obviously way more scary, is that they might be actually preparing something, or at least like preparing to test some things, and then nuclear arms related, and they just don't want United States to actually monitor this. Not sure which one is it, obviously, but none of them is good. None of them is good. Yeah. Let's just hope it's just that it's just so United States will not find out that the abysmal state of nuclear program in Russia. Let's just hope it's that, because otherwise it's shit. Okay, the next one is Aeroflot, which is one of the biggest Russian aviation company. Started to disassemble certain planes for spare parts, because they cannot right now buy anything really from Europe or from United States, any spare parts, that is. They are already scrambling, disassembling one Sukhoi Superjet 100, one Airbus 1 350, at least those two people, Two people. What am I saying? At least those two jets have been already basically disassembled for parts, and Airbus 1350 was almost new, and also from some equipment was basically taken from two more planes, Boeing 737 and Airbus 1320. So yeah, it's like some people, like obviously it is like Russian propagandists who are trying, and Russian like trolls, bots, like those like agents of influence, as it's called, right? In the West, who are trying to say it right now, and a lot of them are in Germany, incidentally or not, are trying to suggest that sanctions don't work, that we should like remove sanctions from Russia and so on and so forth, which I'm going to talk a lot about in this particular episode, because let me tell you, sanctions are working, and unfortunately, yeah, we're going to talk about it later. Unfortunately, they don't work as intended. I think is intended in a way that it's not going to stop Russia from having a war against Ukraine, but this will put Russia into absolutely dark ages, and it's already putting it into dark ages. So it's been like what? Effectively, it's been like 3 months of sanctions, max, because first 2 months it was, you know, yeah, some were implemented, some were just discussed, but you also have this like period of after which the sanctions will actually go into effect. So it's not immediate, obviously. Even after some decree or some law is being signed, you still have like month to delay, like a lag of implementation lag, and some main sanctions not going to be in full power until even December of this year of 2022. So this is just the beginning, and it's already being pretty shitty. Yeah. So up to 15% of Aeroflot's whole fleet have never flown since July. So like 1 month basically in July and now in August. Yeah. No. Okay. From the end of July, so it's what, like 2 weeks. 2 weeks or so. And also it's because obviously not a lot of people are flying right now. Way less people are flying. It's people across Europe, across people inside Russia don't really fly too much across Russia somewhere, because people don't really have a lot of money, and I'm gonna show you all of this. Son of vice premier Husnulin. I've never heard of these people. There's so many fucking governors, so many fucking bureaucrats in Russia that I don't even know about them. However, this guy is the son of vice premier, is gonna become one of the biggest owners of arable land in Russia, agricultural land. 150,000 hectares of land in 7 regions of Tatarstan. How about that? This guy, and because like you must understand this, why it's happening, because now that Europe and the United States have basically banned a lot of those like vice minister, prime minister, whatever the fuck, cunts from Russia, right, from Russian government. These people will not stop in their like greedy attempts to just be wealthy and have control over people. You just don't understand, just like people in the West, I don't think understand just how much of a ruling class has been created and established in Russia. These people are like, you will see that these people are quite insane in their attempts to just control. Like previously, they were like, yeah, let me build my super yacht, whatever the fuck, right? I'm fine spending some time in wherever Mediterranean and so on and so forth. Now that they can't do this, and they can't, like, I don't know how they actually made money before, like these cunts, for example. I'm not particularly sure Husnulin. I'm not sure how exactly he was stealing from Russian people. He was, I'm pretty sure. But now they're gonna be making money by providing food, because this is what Russians are gonna be doing in the next decade probably. Just buying food. There's no luxury goods anymore. There is no like new cars, no new flats, barely even new clothes, which I'll show you once again. But what people need all the time, people need food. And so these people are already understanding right now, okay, our country, fucking thanks to Putin, our country is gonna be in absolute fucking garbage, in shitters, absolutely in shitters. So people are gonna be piss poor, but even piss poor need to eat. So they're already preparing to basically make shit ton of money by providing food for Russian people. This is just the level of um, cynicism and just brutal calculation of a vice premier of Russian Federation. People who's supposed to serve Russian people because it's supposed to be like that. Um, they want to control them. How about that? There are more. Governor of Krasnoyarsk Krai. This is one of the Krasnoyarsk region. It's one of the most kind of territory with one of the best soils. Alexander Us. He owns almost 300,000 kilometers. No, meters, square meters of land. And then the head of Bryanskaya Oblast, Bryansk region, also has almost 100,000 square meters of land. So the governor of the region, head of the region, and vice premier, they all, like, at least these three people. There's 1, 2, and 3 in the ranks. They are doing this. How about that? Huh? How about this? It's quite insane. Quite insane. While they're like spewing in the news some anti-Western propaganda and so on and so forth, while they are voting for destruction of Ukraine, so on and so forth. At the same time, in Russia, they're buying land because they're preparing that things will be really bad and that people will only get money for food, basically. And here we are, here to provide. Amazing, right? News about food. Russia basically blocked, forbid importing fruits from Moldova. After Moldova actually asked NATO to buy some arms, to buy some military equipment, and just you know, like even in Belarus, there are a lot of like apples from Moldova, a lot of maybe like tomatoes, so on and so forth. Like Moldova is really productive region, like agricultural productive region, and they are exporting a lot of things into Russia, into Belarus, and very often these products are way tastier than I can't say for Russia, but way tastier than what's being produced inside of Belarus, for example. So yeah, this is another kind of. I mean, I'm sure Moldova will find a way where to actually send their fruits and vegetables, but this is just this kind of tactics of intimidation. Like, oh, you will ask NATO, you will ask like United States for weapons. Well, fuck you then. Um, but who's going to suffer most? Russian people, just regular normal people who already live from paycheck to paycheck. They're going to suffer the most because now, and also, what's more interesting, even at least in Belarus, it is like this. Often those apples, for example, from Moldova, will be better tasting, better looking, and even cheaper than those produced in grown in Belarus, for example. I'm sure something similar like this is happening in Russia as well. So even with the logisticals costs in that price already, it is still cheaper and they taste better than often, not always, but often, and they taste better than the ones that produced locally. So once again, like just regular people, regular like working people, are the ones who will suffer the most from these kind of things. Yeah, not particularly great at all, not at all. All right, now let's talk about the situation on Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, and yeah, it's unclear situation. Russia has occupied the territory, as far as I can understand. Ukrainian workers are continuing to do their job and trying to keep the maintenance of the power plant as as well as they can. However, Energoatom, which is the Ukrainian nuclear energy um, company, is saying that they're worried that because of the shelling, because of certain things that, and also it's all due to Russian occupation. There are cautiously they're cautioning basically everybody to take care of this and pay attention to this because, um, as they say, Fukushima may happen, but this time, you know, in the territory of Europe once again. So not particularly amazing. I wanted to, yeah, Russia for some reason I don't know, I don't understand. How, like, is it like really true? Because I feel like Russia has not communicated with United Nations really, uh, since, well, I mean, maybe they have. I just didn't notice it. But Council of Security Council of United Nations, right? Is this how it's called in English? Security Council, I think. Russia has asked the Security Council of United Nations to basically have some kind of an investigation, have some kind of a talk, because Russians are actually doing this "know you" kind of a thing and pointing fingers that, oh, it's Ukrainians who actually shelled their own nuclear power plant or bombed the nuclear power, or at least were bombing close to the power plant, and so Russians now are asking United Nations to interfere, which is, I mean, it's interesting to see. I'm not sure, like, if it's just like "no you" kind of a scenario, or they actually want some kind of a resolution, like something akin to what's happened with the grain and the deal that Ukraine made with Turkey and the United Nations, and then Russia made with United Nations and with Turkey, to actually allow Ukraine to start exporting grains via sea. Maybe Russia like wants to, I don't know, play some game, like, I don't know, score some points of goodwill, maybe by like asking United Nations experts to, or MAGATE experts to actually come to the station and inspect this and yeah, create some sort of rules. I don't know. I really don't know. But it's interesting. I just wanted to point out that Russia, for once, have asked United Nations to do something. Yeah. All right. Another news, which is just this news is something out of this world. Russia is asking North Korea for weapons, for arms. North Korea. They were asking before Iran, to buy some drones, and now North Korea. How so? How come? This is just insane. They're not really talking about what exactly they're asking for, but just the fact that almighty Russia, giant air quotes, almighty Russia, is asking freaking North Korea for weapons that USSR actually long time ago probably gave North Korea. Like, this is just another. This is a fucking clown fest on whole another level. On whole another level. Just wanted to acknowledge this little fact. All right. So, metallurgy is really in a bad state in Russia. 200,000 people is working in that industry, metallurgy, and the factories, metallurgy factories, are getting into deep shit. And this is, by the way, Russian official Ministry of Industry and Trade is actually acknowledging that there is no Russian own technology of creating actually like certain big, what's it called, like still melting, still melting kind of I don't know even yeah, I'm not even sure I know the words in Russian. So what is this? Blast furnaces, steel melting furnaces, this kind of things, right? Like, I'm really like out of my depths even in Russian language for this kind of stuff. So sorry, forgive me for really being slow in English. But yeah, basically the furnaces are not made in Russia. Almost no, almost no tools that are like rolling tools that are, like flattening the metals, I'm assuming, so on and so forth, into like thin stacks, thin layers. Almost none of this is created, is made, assembled even in Russia. So Western companies who were supplying this kind of tools, not only stopped sending more tools, selling more tools, but they've actually stopped servicing what's already in Russia. So yeah, it's gonna be bad. It's already really bad. Metallurgy is already on a really downturn. Decline of production in June, 22%. The very very big and Alchem, which is, where is it? In Lipetsk, Novolipetsk Steel Factory. Export down 33%. Another one, MMK, what is this one? Magnitogorsk Iron Steel, down 47%. Severstal, down 17%. That's giant. Like, can you imagine? Like, you've been selling things for, like in the last year, for example, and the next year you're selling only half of it. There's gonna be a lot of firing or a lot of really low salaries quite soon. So yeah. Something worrisome is, although Iran said that they're not gonna sell drones to Russians, apparently some Russians are right now being trained how to operate Iranian drones. This is CNN reporting, so who knows what's going on? Apparently, maybe Russia has already got first batch of these drones, and the name Shahid, which is in Russian basically means um, terrorist bomber, which is really interesting name. Shahid. Is it called the same in English? I'm wondering. Martyr. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly this. The terrorist suicide bomber. Interesting names of drones, and interesting that Russia of all countries will now be using suicide bomber drones. Stellar marketing. This is not so important. I just wanted to kind of acknowledge, because it's interesting kind of what kind of a game Iran is playing. On the one hand, I feel like they should be playing anti-Russian kind of a thing and trying to smooth talk with, perhaps with United States to maybe try and lift some sanctions, maybe allow export of oil, whatever the fucking can be. I'm not sure really. I'm not really following that part of the world that closely, so I do not really understand the politics of that region and what exactly they want, and how it's exactly at what exact kind of level and stage right now the dialogue between Western countries and Iran. But if Iran wants to die on this hill and just like help Russia, I mean, I guess they can, but they will face even harder, I guess, consequences for these actions. Not sure. Anyway, things that are going on in Russia right now is jailing of a lot of. It's basically cleansing, basically in various different agencies and various different um, governmental corporations, national corporations. This time it's a Russian corporation of communications, basically. Apparently, they were working with Russian army, and they had to basically had to work on cybersecurity of army and generally the state. And apparently, yeah, don't know. Apparently, something didn't go well. Apparently, a lot of money were stolen, and the guy is gonna get jail time. He's not gonna get jail time. I don't think so. He's gonna get probably a fine, 1 to 3 million rubles, and then this kind of a um, what is it called? The basically denial of temporary denial to actually be in any managerial roles for a period of several years. That's usually what happens, because it's been a contract between Putin and everyone else, is that you can steal whatever the fuck you want, but I'm doing the politics. You just steal whatever you want. And so it's really rare when people like this get actual jail time. I don't think it's gonna happen this time either. So yeah. One more kind of worrying and note is that worrying news is that Turkey apparently um, wants to basically replace American tools on the American equipment on the LNG project in Russia, Arctic LNG 2, and yeah, I really don't like this kind of Turkey-Russia coalition, because I mean Turkey is a NATO fucking member. I don't understand the NATO in general in this sense that Turkey can do whatever the fuck they want seemingly nowadays. It's like they can do wars, they can help Russia, and it's all because what? Like because they are this country that takes in a lot of like refugees, basically first line of refugee defense, if you can say it, of Europe, and for that they can do seemingly whatever the fuck they want. I don't get it really, because Erdogan is well, he's not as bad as Putin, but he's also a dictator. He's also a dictator, or he definitely wants to be one. That's for sure. I don't know. But yeah, the news is that instead of Baker Hughes, American Baker Hughes, now Turkish car power ship uh, maybe will be there. The turbines will be there in Russia. Not particularly great because once again the whole point of sanctions against Russia is that collective West decides that we're not going to supply the technology to Russia. And once again, Turkey being a NATO member, they should be siding more with a collective West rather than just seeking their own interest, momentary interest. I don't get this, and I don't particularly get how this is allowed. Once again, why like Biden or somebody from UK just call and say like, dude, Recep, what are you doing? We have we have a consensus here that we do not sell the technology to Russia because guys on the West, you have no idea just how shitty and how poor on technology of their own making Russia is. They cannot sustain basically anything without Western technologies. You have no idea just how bad it is. And so any little things like this is a huge deal for Russia. Because otherwise, that station, liquid nitrogen station, it would be just sitting there, doing nothing. So yeah, this is kind of a big blow, at least if it's gonna actually go pass into fruition, if actually Turkey will do this. Um, because I feel like this is not a done deal. It's just a decision that's been made, but it's not a done deal yet. So yeah, I don't really like this. I really don't like that Turkey is allowed to basically, to a degree, counter Western sanctions by helping Russia. I really don't like this. I don't know what to say about this more than this. Okay, and now we're actually getting to a really important topic, and this is actual um, ability of Russians to buy food. And ability of Russians to buy food has dropped to like decade minimums. It's bad. It's getting bad, and it's getting even like it's getting worse. So, okay. So, um first of all, Rostat, which is a Russian statistical agency, um they're always manipulating numbers. Um so you can't just see that, oh, like income of Russian people has dropped just like 1%. This is bullshit. This is really bullshit, because if you actually count, I don't know like how they exactly manipulate it. I mean, you can change like different products, how they count it. Like in 1 year they counted one type of products or one group of products, and another year they're shifting it. But if we're just tracking the how much food you can buy on a certain amount in a certain year, so for medium income in 2022, you could buy 850 kilos of potatoes. Now 700, 710 basically. That's a steep drop. That's 15% or so. Is it 20%? It's not 20, but it's about 15%, even a bit more. So Rostat tells you about 1%. In reality, it's at least 15. If we're talking about cabbage, year before you could buy 1280 kilograms. Now it's 560, double of that. Double less, obviously. 2 times less. The same not the same, but yeah, like at least like 10 to 15% drop off about rice, about flour, about spaghettis, about butter. People can only buy 88 kilos of ham, basically beef. Sorry, and it's the same as in 2012, 10 years ago. Chicken, carrots, back to 2015. Like a lot of things have gotten really worse, like really bad. Because again, like a drop off of like 15-20% for people who are already at the brink. And there are a lot of people who are barely surviving in Russia right now. That's a lot. 35% said that their situation has gotten really worse. Every fifth is waiting that it's going to get even worse. Almost 10%, 8% of people are saying that they don't have money even for food. If it's 10%, Russia is like 150 millions, right? One 144, okay. Russia is 144 millions. If it's about 10%, that's almost 8%. That's 12 million people. 12 million people in such a rich country as Russia, with the amount of billionaires is almost like, I don't know, probably like nowhere else. And billionaires who have not created amazing services, who have not created profitable businesses, who did not hire shit ton of people inside of Russia. People are always, I see, hating Amazon a lot and Jeff Bezos, for example. But the guy created the most popular website in the world, trading website, like the shop, internet shop, basically. And they employ a shit ton of people inside the United States. Russia has never done anything like that. It doesn't have anything close to Amazon that employs a lot of people inside Russia. Nothing of that nature. Such a rich country, and all of those money are going into Putin and Putin's mafia, to his bureaucrats, what we call chinovnik. All of those money are being stolen, and 12 million people don't even have money for food. 22% are in a position that they have money for food, but they can't even buy clothes or shoes. 22%, 1/5 of the population of Russia. That's a lot. That's really a lot. And I don't think a lot of people actually understand this in the West and even talk about it. But that's a lot. That's almost 30 million people. Almost 30 million people living like that. That they barely survive. They have enough to eat. They don't have enough for anything else. Just think about it. Almost 30 million people. That's like several countries combined in Europe in terms of population. And it's not going to go better. It's not going to get better anytime soon. Retail sales have dropped 10%, almost 10% in June, after a drop of another 10% in May. That's 20% down just in 2 months. More than 1,000 international companies have left the Russian market, and combined, they were employing 5 million people, about 5 million people. And these 5 million people will be fired basically after a period of there is this grace period of 3 months. When the company is leaving, they have to pay their workers, or if the company is firing the workers, they have to pay them for 3 months worth of salary. So yeah, if the company has left the country in like June, for example, so June, July, August, in September, at the period when kids will go to school, you need to buy for kids as well, equipment, whatever, and it's all quite expensive, to be honest. And yeah, a lot of people will be officially at that point fired without a job at all. This is for all of those people who think that Russian sanctions against Russia do not work. They do work. Oh, they do work. Once again, they will not stop the war because fucking Europe still buys shit ton of oil and gas from Russia. Europe created this problem in terms of because of their reliance on cheap Russian energy. Now they're going to pay for it. Obviously, they are already paying for it due to inflation and whatnot. Most of it is created because of this conflict, or a lot of it is created because of this conflict and because of this uncertainty with supply of energy. There are no fucking free carrots in this world. You have to pay for everything. Sooner or later, you're gonna pay. Now it's time for Europeans to pay for their stupid fucking governments and the situation that they've created. The ableism that they've created. It was 2014 when Crimea was annexed. 2014. What was done? Couple bans on banking system. I think maybe a few people from government are put on the no-go list. That's it. Navalny and his team was telling and trying to pass this this giant list of all the corrupt Russian officials who should be banned in Europe back then, 2014, probably even before. Nothing was done for 8 years. Now there is a full-blown fucking war in Europe. Now all those things are being done. Those bureaucrats are being blocked. Those Russian billionaires, oligarchs are being blocked, and their families, which is even more important because it can easily be like, yeah, well, okay, I don't control anything. It's all in my son's name. No, you need to ban all of them, because they're all complicit. But the most of it is just, yeah, Europe is complicit in this shit, and yeah, and it's gonna get even worse for Russian people who, once again, some of them might not even want to live under this regime, but they don't have any fucking other choice. If you are living in a fucking middle of nowhere, if you're living in the middle of nowhere in, let me just, in Tomsk, for example, in Russia, there are not a lot of prospects. There are not a lot of prospects if you're living in some little fucking town, Staritz or something like that, or Berezovka. There's just like shit ton of nowhere towns in Russia, in the middle of Russia. And to get out of there and to be able to, I don't know, enter some university in Europe or just improve your life. It's so fucking hard. You wouldn't believe it. It's so fucking hard. And now these people are gonna get fucked even more because of their own government, and what it's done. But sanctions are working. They're working really well. They're just destroying the whole Russia. They're not stopping it from, like I said, they're not stopping it from bombing Ukraine and continue to attack Ukraine. They're just destroying the whole Russia, the whole economy, the whole of it. Which is sad if we're talking about individual people, because, yeah, I've been recently aware of just struggles of regular day-to-day lives of a lot of underprivileged, if you can say so, classes of people, and it's been kind of deeply emotionally affecting me. Once again, if somebody supports Putin, supports this war, and don't want to think for a second about actions and consequences, fuck them. Even if they're poor, fuck them. You need to be above this mentality, propagandist garbage, and so on and so forth. But still, it's a tragedy what's going to happen in the next years and 5 years and a decade to come. And it all depends even how quick this war is going to end, even. Because the longer it's going to go, the worse it's going to be for Russia and for poor people of Russia. Once again, just think of almost 30 million people can only buy food and can barely buy any clothes. 30 million. This is so sad. Once again, in a country so rich with all sorts of different natural resources, and all of those resources are in the hands of Putin's mafia. He's created such a fucking system where regular people don't get nothing. It's not in Norway with their national fund. It's not even fucking Arab Emirates with their national fund. None of it. It's Putin's fund, national fund. It's so sad. It's really so sad if you actually go from the level of this nuclear threat and the crazy dictator to the level of just one human being, regular human being, trying to survive somewhere in the middle of fucking nowhere in Russia with a salary of $100 or $200. And now they're even the food, the basic 30 million people can only buy food, and now the food is getting even more expensive by 10%, 15%, 20%, in some cases 40%, while the governors and the fucking bureaucrats who are supposed to serve these people are buying a ton of land to actually later produce and sell food and make themselves even richer. The servant class is now a ruling class in Russia. It's all upside down in this fucking part of the world. It's so sad. It really is. This is another thing that goes just hand in hand with what I was saying. Russia has spent on prisons 3.5 times more than on high tech, IT. Prisons. Russia has spent 3.5 times more on prisons than on high technology, IT. Russia in 2021, put into high technology companies just $800 million. Not even $1 billion. It is 442 times less than United States, which put $350 billion. 0.8 billion versus 353, almost 4. 354 versus 0.8. And fucking Russia wants to juxtapose themselves to United States, to the rest of the world. in a world that is ruled by high-end technology, IT technology. This is insane. This is just insane. Is it like I'm reading this from Moscow Times? This is independent and oppositionist kind of a resource. Do they talk about this on Russian state media? Never, ever, ever you will see anything like that being put out in front of millions of regular Russian people. And I'm not even sure if Moscow Times still blocked or not in Russia. I'm not sure really. Because after the war started, a lot of resources have been blocked, both in Belarus and in Russia, like Deutsche Welle, like BBC. I think I talked in another stream about it. But yeah, this is $800 million in 2021 is what Russia has put into Russian high technology companies. 140 times less than China, 91 billion. 69 times less than Great Britain, 54 billion. 52 times less than India, 41 billion. 32 times less than Australia, 25 billion. And this is just insane. Sweden has put $8.6 billion. Spain almost 9. Israel 10. Indonesia, for fuck's sake, 10 billion. Russia, not even 1 billion. Brazil 13 billions. Canada 14. France almost 17. Germany 21. This country is a joke, Russia. It's a fucking joke. Joke. This is 30 times less than Russia has spent for their for the government, for their bureaucrats, and 54 times less than army and Gosobronzakaz, which is basically like procurement, army procurement system. 30 they've spent on high-end technology. 30 times less than spending on fucking governmental bureaucrats. Just let that sink in. Look, this is the priorities of Russia. Army, and then the fucking government. That's it. That's the Russia. You need to understand this. This is Russia. This ruling class, which is maybe like, I don't know if there's gonna be even 100,000 people, but like top of the top ruling class is probably like 10,000 people max. And I think Navalny's list is like 6,000 people, I think. Last time I checked, it was about 6,000 people. 6,000 people who are actually cunts, who are responsible for most of the corruption in Russia, for stealing most of the money in Russia, and so on and so forth. In a country of 144 million people, about 10,000 are stealing. Probably, if we think about Pareto distribution, probably stealing about 80% of money, and they put it into army and themselves. And themselves. How about that? This is insane. There is no single company in Russia that in 10 years got into a capitalization of $1 billion. Even in Senegal, there is one company like that. South African Republic 2, Mexico 17, Brazil 18, India 74, China 275, and obviously in USA and all the rest. Not even, I don't know, they don't even mention because, just say that China is the number 2 in the world, and obviously United States is going to be number 1. But yeah, not even $1 billion company. Technology company, I'm assuming they're talking about. In 2022. where all the world understands that this is the future. I mean, the high end technology. This is like I'm using it right now. The monitor, processor, memory, SSD, like Ethernet adapter that's inside, built into motherboard, internet itself, like the cables, the connectors, the routers. Nothing. Russia is doing nothing of this. It's really sad that once again a country so rich has such apathetic people. I have to say the problem is the people, because yeah, if you subscribe to this idea that, well, we can't do anything, we should not talk about politics, politics is not for us, so on and so forth, which is exactly the rhetoric of a shit ton of people in Belarus and in Russia. Well, this is what you get. You get dictatorships. If you do not control and if you do not take responsibility that you're living in a society and the government has to be accountable and people must learn their rights, must learn their basically must learn that they must unionize together, come together and demand changes together and stand for each other. Well, once again, you're gonna get democracy. You're gonna get dictatorships and autocracies. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead. We still have a lot of fucking things to cover. I'm just gonna bust through a lot of them. In Kursk region, apparently some kind of diversion groups are trying to blow up like electrical line. Second time already they're trying to do this, which is just interesting that apparently there are some partisans in Russia that are trying to do this kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I hope they're not gonna get caught, because this is gonna get them into jail for a very long time. So yeah. Right. Then I think I talked about it that people of Donetsk and Lugansk are being basically forced to go to war and fight against Ukraine, because Russia doesn't want to really risk their own soldiers now that they've seen how good of an equipment Ukrainians have, and also that now that it's been quite a prolonged war already. What is it, like, coming to 6 months, I guess, right? Or is it already 6 months? It's 160 something days, right? It's not 6 months yet. In any case, it's a long war already. But yeah, basically, a lot more people are getting killed right now, and it starts to get some effects in Russia, inside Russia, and people in Russia, they do not want to go to this war anymore. And in fact, people even who are even in Ukraine, they refuse to go and like storm some things or whatever. They say like, no, we're not going to war. And instead of actually escorting them back to Russia, what really bloody Russian regime is doing, they're not even escorting them back to Russia, because then they could like officially reject, send a letter that would say like, I refuse to go to war or whatever, and then maybe they're gonna get fined, maybe not, maybe just fired from army, basically. But so they can't do this right now. Those people who reject to go to the front lines are being held basically as captives on the occupied Ukrainian territory. So Russians are doing really terrible things even to Russians, even to their own soldiers who refuse to go to the front lines. They're treating them basically almost like a prisoners of war to a degree that like shitty conditions. They're just held in like some basements with almost no comforts or anything like that. So the thing is, once again, Ukraine is winning. It's just taken slower because America would not provide like long range weapons and just in general like not enough of military equipment. If they had more military equipment, they would defend themselves. They would throw Russians away out of Ukraine way quicker. I'm very very certain of that. But it is what it is. But it's working still. Even what's happening right now is working. Um, yeah. So a lot of people in Donetsk and Lugansk because are right now being basically forced to go to the front lines because these people will not be accounted in the statistics of Russian Ministry of Defense as losses because they're not Russian citizens. They're nobodies basically. For Russia, they're nobodies. And what's happening in Donetsk and Lugansk is that men of conscription age are being, I kid you not, almost literally like hunted for. They are being like there are military equipped people are going around the occupied territories trying to find men of conscription age, and then they just take them away and give them, you know, AK in hand and say, "There's the front line. You go." Yeah, this is what's happening right now. So, and you must understand that this propaganda that Russia is spreading, that Donetsk and Lugansk they all like wanted to join Russia and whatnot. Since 2014, once again in 2014 there were a lot of deaths, civilians included, because of those bandits, of those murderers from Russia. Then in 2014 and 15. Then it all kind of subsided more or less. There were no real like fighting every day and anything like that. Now it's all started again, and like people who were able to escape that region, they have escaped. People who didn't escape, um, it's not like they particularly want to be there, but because there are a lot of these murderers walking around the streets, basically, it can be quite hard. It really can be quite hard. Um, to hide, to even escape right now, that kind of a region, and so on and so forth. And I doubt that those people, even those people who actually thought maybe they were treated unequally in Ukraine or they wanted to be in Russia, whatever, I doubt that they actually want to go to. I mean, I don't doubt. I know for the fact that they don't really want to go to war against Ukrainians because they're gonna get fucking destroyed in seconds. Because this is not like some greatly equipped, greatly trained military personnel. These are just people whose passport is taken away. They basically held captive for a few days or whatever. Then, like I'm saying, getting an AK in hand and just, saying, go. Yeah. That's pretty shitty. That's pretty shitty. Last time it was in April, basically in May, that 1,500 people dead in Donetsk, and more than 6,000 injured. That was a long time ago already. And that was at a time when Ukraine like barely had any like good weapons, to be honest. Yeah. So that's that. What's interesting is that the giant explosion on the airfield in Crimea was not particularly noticed on the Russian propaganda media. Not a fucking Solovyov not 60 minutes. These are true biggest propagandist Cant shows. They did not talk about it. And on the first channel, which is the main propagandist channel of the Russian state, this incident was covered 36 seconds. That's it. And NTV, Rhetoric is the same kind of main Russian state propagandist medium. Not more than 1 minute have talked about this. It's interesting how they would be literally telling garbage like, oh, we've destroyed 2 HIMARS systems one day, 3 HIMARS systems the other day, 6 HIMARS systems the next day, which would be like already more than like Ukraine had at a certain point. And then when the fucking airfield with at least like I think 50 personnel died, 50 pilots probably, I think, at least this is what I've seen. Not sure if it's confirmed or not. And about a dozen airplanes have been destroyed. Zilch. Not a word, not a peep about this on the propaganda, especially on the propaganda, on like a really toxic garbage propagandist, which is this like Evening with Solovyov and 60 Minutes. These are the two of the worst fucking shitter programs. Yeah. How interesting. How freaking interesting is that, huh? All right, let's move on. Kazakhstan is getting some sort of like a union alliance with Turkey about the arms, military deals, equipment, so on and so forth. Apparently, they're gonna get exchange of information. Yeah, I mean, Kazakhstan apparently realized it need not be with Russia during all of this, all these things, all this war. Kazakhstan is trying to separate themselves as a normal state that is kind of, putting some sort of restrictions and maybe even bans on Russia and whatnot, just trying to stay away from Putin as much as they can. Smart move, I guess. Yeah. There is this equipment for spying, which is called SORM. Basically, like tools for allowing operational search measures, I guess, something like that. Basically, this is FSB, which is Russian CIA kind of a thing, I guess. Said that every major, or maybe not even major, every carrier, both like mobile carriers, but also internet providers, they have to install the SORM tools on their lines, basically. So everything could be tracked, deciphered, the content could be blocked if needed, so on and so forth. However, and this is another good sign for everybody in the world, really, not only the level of Russian corruption, but the fact that everything is done through the ass, really. The saying in Russian, it's exactly like that, through the ass. Через жопу, because not a lot of actual carriers and providers have installed this thing. Like major ones have installed this system that would basically it basically works like the Chinese not even just Chinese firewall, but Chinese spy system that is inside the China. Like if you publish anything in their like intranet, or like in WeChat or whatever, it can be blocked immediately. It can be like traced to who sent what. Something like that is the SORM thing, and obviously it's like all the fucking violations of privacy, which is still in the Russian constitution and whatnot. Nobody gives a fuck anymore about the constitution. Yeah, the same thing is going on in Belarus as well, I'm pretty sure. There is something like that in Belarus, although again, even in Constitution, there is like a constitutional right for private communication, so on and so forth. Once again, nobody gives a fuck about it. Let's move on. Just the thing that is happening. And the Cant, who is called Maria Zakharova, once again, official diplomatic, whoever the fuck she is, just what is she? Representative spokesman. Yeah, spokes cunt. We're not gonna call her woman. She looks like a cunt. She's a cunt. Spokes cunt said that Russian Ministry of International Affairs will sever ties with USA if Russia will be called a sponsor of terrorism, which is apparently a bill right now, I think, or a law, something like that, that is going on through United States legislative system or Senate right now. I don't know exactly, but it's been in the workings that United States wants to actually officially call Russia a terrorist state, which is good, which is exactly what should be done. And if Russia will sever ties with USA because of this, I think good fucking reason. Like, who gives a fuck? Russia is cunt state already for a long time ago. For a long time now. Okay, so gas extraction is at 14 years minimum right now. 14 years minimum. In July, Gazprom as created, pumped basically 36% less gas than the year before. 36% less. That's like what? This is like 6 months, not even 6 months into the war, and this is not even all the major countries banning or like refusing to buy Russian gas. A lot of them still buy it, and it's already 36% less. By the end of this year, it's going to be probably close to 60%. Why is it important? It's important, obviously, because Russia is getting a lot of money from gas and oil. A lot of money. A lot of exports is gas and oil. Simple as that. Export in July is just 6 of Gazprom, which is the national operator. It's just 6.4 billion cubic meters. And it's 58. Well, this is already 60% less than a year ago. So we're already there. 60% less in July. Right? That's quite insane. And this is exactly why I was talking before, that Europe has created a Russia problem, or more specifically Putin problem, because they were so dependent on relatively cheap Russian gas and oil. Now they're paying for that dependency with quite high inflation. Once again, 10-15% inflation. If it's 10% inflation, every Belarus would say, please lift me up from Belarus and put me in Germany. We're going to be fine. 10% is like, wow, it was a good year if it's a 10% inflation here. Seriously. But for Russia, this is gonna mean a lot. This is really gonna mean a lot. Like, think about it, right? Like, there's gonna be 90% ban on oil in December, I think. So even prior to that, probably more companies will be trying already to. Now they're probably trying to pump their reserves and try to buy as much oil as they can. And closer to December, they're gonna ease off and completely or almost completely ban buying of oil. And Russia, in its Putin basically, in its infinite wisdom, giant air quotes here, has decided that he's gonna teach Europe for their support of Ukraine by basically shooting not only in one leg but then in another as well, when he decided that Gazprom will voluntarily, on their own, actually cut the the transfer of gas up to only 20% of the whole power of the Nord Stream. That's quite something. There is this meme. Oh my god, can I find it right now? Oh my god, there's this meme on Twitter of Ukrainian soldier saying we're so lucky that they're so fucking stupid. Which is like this one. Okay, this one. Did they say anything?
Кожного разу, коли ми спілкуємося з нашими захисниками, стало традицією чути від них.
Okay, they're saying, wait, where's this guy? Because I've seen, yeah, wait.
Мені кажеться, що не дуже повезло, що вони тут перелі.
Кової майстерності.
Мені кажеться, що не дуже повезло, що вони тут перелі.
I'm just like, I've seen this as this like picture, like we're very lucky they're so fucking stupid. I haven't seen the video actually.
А в чому їх тупість проявляється?
Та безтолкові нахуй. Літають над нами. І пиздують хуй знає куди.
I haven't seen this. I
Мені кажеться, що не дуже повезло.
I have seen just this like picture. There's just this meme. Just this one, like, yeah, just this one. We're very lucky they're so fucking stupid. I need to save this. This is exactly, where's this save image? Anyway, listen, okay, whatever, I can do this later. I'm just saying that, yeah, the whole world is so lucky that Russians are so fucking stupid. This is really true. And obviously the fucking Putin is one of those absolutely brain-dead cunts who thinks that he's gonna like freeze somehow Europe to death because he's not gonna give them gas. Like, dude, Europe is gonna survive. Maybe it's gonna be tough 1 year. Maybe it's gonna be even tough 2 years. On the third year, nobody will ever think of Russia as a energy supplier. Never. I don't think this can, especially if this winter will be really bad for people in Europe because of the lack of gas. I think they will never forget it, at least in the next like 5 years. They will always remember what Russia has done to them. And I don't think like any politician who will be trying ever again to basically play these games with Putin, or if Putin dies or whatever, with any Russian cunts, like, we're gonna be... Basically, Russia is never gonna be a supplier of energy to Europe. Not a major one, not a reliable one. Nobody should treat them like that, and I hope nobody will. Not in the next, like, fucking decade. That's for sure. Once again, I have talked about this before in one of the streams, but... Forest fires is a bitch, and it's a giant issue for Russia, and Russia is doing nothing. Russia is wasting their time and money for war in Ukraine, for paying for the fucking, how's it called, prisons and their bureaucrats, and 3.5 million hectares of forest already gone since the beginning of the year. 2.2, just imagine, 2.2% of all the region of Khabarovsky Krai, 2.2% of the whole region, this region, gone in fire. 1.7 million hectares. That's insane. 768,000 hectares are on fire right now. 768. While being extinguished right now in the process, only 4. 0.5%. That's insane. That is insane. And what is interesting is that the forest fires in Russia is bigger than the territory of Belgium. I think I was talking last time when I was talking about it. I think I also mentioned the size of Belgium. I'm pretty sure I have mentioned Belgium as well. So yeah, once again, it's still happening, and the size of Belgium, for Christ's sake. That's no like, that's not nothing. You know what I mean? It's not like Liechtenstein or whatever. It's Belgium. It's not a particularly small country. Just imagine this whole thing on fire. Or imagine, like, I mean, half of fucking Portugal is on fire. Like, just imagine from Lisbon to Faro, all on fire. Or in Spain, from something like from Madrid to Valencia, like long strip of just fire, nothing else. Or in France, from like Marseille to Nice, all in fire. Just imagine that. Like, that's insane. That's intense. That's like, you know. Do they talk about it on the national news? No, of course not. Why would they? Why would they? It's economically unviable. Unviable, is that a word? Not viable. Yeah, let's put it that way. Economically not viable to actually extinguish them. In Yakutia, which is, where's Yakutia? What did I say? Himalayan, right? Okay, sorry. Had a little bit of an aneurysm. Yeah, in Yakutia, in this area, which is one of the largest in Russia, they are allowed by the government to even try to extinguish only 25% of the territory of 182,000 hectares of forest because it's economically not viable to try to save it all. How about that? Greenpeace published like some satellite imaging, which is like several kilometers of fire. This is quite scary, to be honest. All right. Maersk is getting out of Russia, continuing to get out of Russia, which is obviously one of the biggest logistical transportation seafarer company, just general transportation company. So yeah, all the cargo transports into Russia and from Russia has been stopped already. I don't know. This is quite something. They're gonna get 50,000 of containers out of the country, and yeah, that's a giant loss. That's a giant loss. I don't know what I mean. Russia is literally going into dark ages. Dark ages. Yeah. What's interesting is that Gazprom will not take back the turbine for Nord Stream. That's apparently now ready to get to being sent. And yeah. Everybody has finally said yes, from Germany, EU, UK, Canada, but Russia is saying, meh, nah, we don't need it. Like I'm saying, not only they're shooting, not only they have shot themselves in one foot, now they're shooting in another. And yeah, well, good for them, I guess. And Gazprom is actually just burning right now gas instead of sending it to Europe. Just like that. On 17th of June, It's 3 days after the transfer was lowered by 40%, and then one more third. So again, the Nord Stream right now is working at like 20% of the power limits, of the limits. Yeah, Russia is just burning oil. Not oil, sorry, gas. Because obviously you can't like just willy-nilly, open and close it. It's a gas, like it needs to escape somewhere, and yeah, they're just burning it. This is literally like you can think of it as just Russian people's money that are not being like delivered to them. They are just being burned, going into the air. Because that could be money. If it would be a good country, actually, that would sell Europe gas, oil, and then build infrastructure in Russia, build Russia to be actually a good country to live in, invest in high-end technologies and so on and so forth, invest in their own people. But, yeah. Russia is selling 83% of its gas, of its export gas, to Europe. 83%. And now they're only working at 20% capacity. And this is even without Europe actually banning it. It's just Russia is doing it all to themselves. I mean, once again, good riddance, I guess. 80% of brands, of like international brands, foreign brands, are gone from Russia. 80%. Boom. Not only basically this is really shitty for Russians who wants to actually wear decent clothes, but it's a lot of square meters of rentals, of it's a lot of people who work there, obviously, and all of this is gonna come crashing down. I mean, it already has, but I'm assuming a lot, once again, as with other companies, they might perhaps still pay Russian people, Russian workers for 3 months, and so maybe this period is not over yet. And when it will get over, when it will be over, again, somewhere probably in September, October, then there will be a lot more people who will be out of job. And again, there will be a lot of empty square meters inside of those giant shopping malls. Once again, just thinking about like a regular Russian, just a normal person, right? Not fucking stupid cunts who support this shit or who don't want to even think about politics and so on and so forth. Just normal people. This is quite something. 24% of small and medium Russian business have already shrunk down. They've fired some people, and 13% more will do this before the end of the year. So that's a lot. Once again, it's almost 40% of small and medium-sized businesses who will fire people. Yeah. About 10% have fired from 30 to 50 people, 20% from 20 to 30, 27%, less than 10 people. Yeah. Once again, it's going to get really, 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 really bad. Really bad. And this is, once again, just to say that sanctions are working. These sanctions are destroying, and not only sanctions, but this voluntarily voluntary leave, basically, of companies, because a lot of companies, they just left Russia. as a gesture that they would not tolerate this garbage. And so, yeah, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get really bad. Um, there are just some people. There are a lot of people who just, unfortunately, in Russia, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be so hard to change the mentality of people like that. That people from Avtovaz, this is the Russian, one of the like two or something like that, Russian car manufacturers. They no, okay. They turn to Putin. They ask Putin something, I guess. I don't know what, but what? Oh yeah, they okay. About 3,200 people are working on the Mijevsky Avtozavod, which is this Avtovaz. They turn to Putin with a basically what is this? With a plea, with a request to actually manage to get them the parts for cars, obviously foreign parts, right? That are needed to assemble the car. And yeah, now these people are basically are offered to just leave. So workers have asked Putin to, hey, can you help us with, like, you created this fucking problem, can you solve now this problem? And Avtovaz in return said, you know what, if you don't like it, you can go away. I mean, what the fuck? One good news is that apparently Germany might still use those three nuclear power plants, because, well, I mean, this is the dumbest shit ever, and I've said this in like between conversations with people I know, that this is one of the stupidest shit that fucking Germany is doing, closing the nuclear power plants. And yeah, I mean, now suddenly 70% of Germans are actually supporting to continue operation of these nuclear power plants. This is brain dead, because the fucking nuclear power plants, to the amount of energy they're producing, they're the safest thing ever invented. Even combining and accounting for the Chernobyl and for Fukushima. Like, they are the safest things ever. Like, this is so fucking dumb to actually close them, especially when you don't have especially when your solution is relying on fucking coal or on Russian gas. Are you retarded? Like, it's not even brain dead. You're retarded if you don't understand that this is not a solution. You have your own nuclear power plant. They can produce a shit ton of energy, or they were producing a lot of energy. France's are producing right now a lot of energy, and nothing is happening to them. They're all operational, they're working. And instead of like focusing on that thing, the cleanest of the cleanest energies, nuclear one, or okay, not really, but like one of them, and it's local to you, and it does not need sun, it doesn't need wind, like, it's just there, it's making the energy. Like, what the fuck do you need? It's just so fucking stupid. But listen, if this war has done anything, it's at least teaching people, at least a little bit in Europe, that nuclear is good. You should rely on your own nuclear plants that are sitting inside your country, rather than this fucking cunts of dictators. Like, what the fuck? Just what the fuck? Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. And I didn't know about that. The Timothy, listen, this dude, he's like a rapper in Russia, right? But he was once just a fucking guy on like a singing fucking contest show. What was it called? I forgot already. Fabrikas Звезд, I think, right? Look at this. This was Timothy. This was the fucking guy. Like this. This was Timothy in like, I don't know, fucking 2004 or something like that. That was just a little fucking cunt who was singing some cheesy songs. And now, like, there are fucking memes with this guy. It's like, he was like fucking just stupid douchebag. And now, he's like a fucking mafiosi. He's like a mafia right now. Now he is buying Starbucks that left Russia, which is basically stealing Starbucks if we're actually talking about like real words. And he's supporting the war, and now he's getting some free real estate, basically free land for like 5 years to create some whatever shit he wants to create. Them. This is so disgusting. Like, yeah. All right. Putler Kant as I just can't like he forbid foreign banks to leave Russia. He forbid foreign banks to leave Russia. Okay? That's the news basically. I mean, if a bank wants to just, dissolve and just stop operating, like how is your fucking decree or law, whatever the fuck is it called? Ukaz, is it a decree? Yeah. How is your decree will fucking stop them? Like, sure, they're gonna lose a lot of money, but I mean, this dude. I mean, there were news that this guy has cancer. There were news that the cancer is like not throat. What's the word? Thyroid cancer that can be treated quite easily. But all that this absolute brain dead moron is doing is destroying everything in Russia. It's like he's like literally operating like the motto: if there is no me, there is no Russia. He's like literally doing this. So I'm wondering, like, does he maybe really have like a really bad terminal cancer that he knows that he's not going to survive for another like 2 years or something like that, and that's why he actually is doing this like last hooray that fuck everything, I don't give a fuck about nobody of you, and let it just all burn, because if not, he is absolutely brain dead. For a person who is in charge of a very big country, he is absolutely brain dead. There are no cells there doing anything. None. Because if you're creating this decree, right? If you're forbidding the banks to leave, if they want to leave, they want to leave. They will just like write off these expenses, as a shit ton of countries have done out of their own volition, who left the country out of their own volition. But none of them will come back. None. What are you going to do in the next year? 2 years after this? 5 years after this? Do you think like all these companies and banks and whatnot, they're going to just run back with open hands? No, they're not. I think they're going to learn the lesson, because Russia is like what, like 1, 2, maybe 3% in the in the profits of most of the companies, because it's just one of the countries and it's not a particularly even wealthy country. It's not like people spending a shit ton of money really there. So it's like, do you think Starbucks will care in like 2 years? No, they're just gonna boost their sales in whatever, Spain or something like that. It's just insane. It's just insane. It's just insane. There were this term Minyala in Russia, in USSR, which means exchanger, basically, a foreign currency exchanger, to be precise, to be more specific. because right now in Russia you cannot basically get dollars like in hand basically. Central Bank of Russia has decided that kind of fuck you sort of a thing. I mean, you still can have some operations in dollars and so on and so forth, but to actually go to the ATM machine, put your card and say like, give me $1,000. It's not gonna do this. And so back to USSR we go. And there were these people who would, I even know this in my own city in Belarus. I even know right now because I bought as a child. I don't know how the fuck my parents allowed me to do this, but I remember that I either sold or bought some dollars. I even remember I know that this guy is still alive. I remember one of them at least. It was this guy with a fanny. Is it called fanny pack? Oh, the fucking Russian fanny pack. Is it like this fanny pack? I don't even know how it's fanny pack. Yeah, exactly. The guy with this fanny pack, right? I just want to show the whole kind of a picture. Okay. Okay. On the stream, it would be something like that. It would be like a guy with a little fanny pack or with a big barsetka. I'm sorry, I don't know some words. Yeah, purse. Okay, well, whatever. Fucking English. I sometimes hate English. So the purse, there's this a big purse, almost like a clutch, like a women's clutch. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, I've seen those guys, and I even bought from them literally a guy it would be next to the store, in a known spot. Let's put it that way, with a fanny pack, and you would come and say hey, do you have $50? He's like, yeah, this is the exchange rate. You would give him the money, and then he would give to you some dollars, for example, or the other way around, whichever it is preferred. But wait, what? How's it happened? I forgot. Okay, whatever. Listen, I kind of lost where. Oh my god. Okay, was it here? Oh yeah. So now, once again, now, police and Ministry of Internal Affairs in Russia, which is again like an FBI or whatever, is searching and hunting for these people who are exchanging basically money. And there is in a criminal code that there is a illegal banking activity. Basically, there is a paragraph. So it's literally back in USSR, because in USSR there was also this illegal banking activity kind of thing, and I think there was even a capital punishment for this, which is insane. I don't think there's capital punishment right now. Well, I mean, in Russia there is no capital punishment yet. In Belarus there is. I'm not sure for that exact thing, but back into USSR, baby. All this fucking. It's just so sad that that older generation, the generation basically of my parents, or even of who are 60 years old, or 55, 70, or so, even maybe even my grandparents. It's so sad that generation won basically in Belarus and in Russia, because they are dragging down our younger generation, 30, 20 years old, people who can read, at least Wikipedia. They understand they don't want to be in USSR or nowhere close to that fucking shit show. And yet this older generation is dragging us down, dragging us back down there, which is really, really unfortunate. And really unfortunate. Okay, I think I've mentioned this, maybe not. I was definitely writing about this. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, that private military company, basically. I think it's called in English. Wagner, which is basically neo-Nazis and fascists, Russian fascists. They are right now recruiting about, or already have recruited about 1,500 prisoners for war in Ukraine. In exchange for pardon, basically. Once again, so this Chivaka Wagner, right? So again, this is called private military company Wagner, right? Officially, they should not be able to fucking pardon anyone because they're just private fucking company. And yet, Russian prisons allow their own prisoners who are there because they killed somebody, because something like that. They allow their prisoners to go and join this private, air quotes, company and be sent to the war in Ukraine. And it's really like this is actually who they're aiming at, who they're searching for. These recruiters are searching for people who were jailed for murder or for robbery, for like sexual things or drug. They don't want those people. So they are specifically targeting murderers. They're specifically targeting really, really destructive and really bad people. And they want to send them into Ukraine. How about that? And once again, what's very interesting is that, and there are quite a lot of people who actually decided that they will go and join this. 300 people, Yaroslavsky, Mika, whatever. Just quite a lot of them. In any case, it's just the fact that this is happening, and the fact that whoever this Chivaka Wagner will recruit, they will never be counted as casualties, as like Russian army casualties, because this is not a Russian army. This is private company, private military company. So this is how Russia is doing their war right now. Normal people in Russia do not want to go into this war. They don't have enough people. They're trying to actually basically capture and send to the front lines people from Donetsk and Lugansk because they don't give a fuck about them. And the same goes about these murderers who are in prisons right now. They want to take them via this private company, so they would not be Russian army would not, and Russian government in general would not be accountable for those people and for their actions. And if they die, they don't have to pay like millions of rubles to the families and whatnot. And they want to send them there. And obviously, this is murderers. These are robbers. These are already really terrible people. And now you're sending those people to the front lines, to the war, and you're giving them the carte blanche, right? You're giving them basically the free reign. You're saying, do whatever you fucking want. This is what's scary. I've heard about it like a few weeks ago. I've been writing about it, and this is exactly what I was thinking, that you are taking really destructive elements from the fucking place that they should be, in a fucking jail, and you are just sending them to a place where they can do whatever the fuck they want. And I don't think it's gonna be really good. I really hope that they will be just fucking obliterated in the first whatever days, and so they don't have time to actually do anything terrible to Ukrainian people, to Ukrainian civilians, and so on and so forth. But I really worry about this because, listen, like 1,500 people, 1,500 murderers, that's 1,500 more murderers that should be in Ukraine. So, yeah. I'm kind of worried about this, really. Not gonna lie about it. All right. I was actually I had literally I had written in the notes to this kind of episode that I was reading about hypersonic missiles, and yeah, it was exactly here. I was reading about these hypersonic missiles, about the Kinjal, which is a dagger in English, and there are not a lot of them. They can be cruising at speeds like 10 Mach, 12 Mach, something like that, which is a lot. And they can be extremely destructive, and really hard to actually counter. And so I was when I just put this little kind of note into put this link into my notes in the preparation for this episode. I wrote actually why people who are working at those factories who are producing these hypersonic missiles, why don't they just refuse to work? They know now what kind of damage Russia is doing, what kind of a war they're fighting. And these people are directly responsible for creating weapons that Russia is using. I mean, I understand that probably on those like factories, I guess just like very like patriotic people probably working, because I'm always judging things from my perspective of like anti-government across the whole world basically, and definitely anti-authoritarian, definitely pacifist, anti-military, all that kind of stuff. So I'm judging it like from my own lens. Like I'm thinking like if I would be working at such factory, I would just say like I'm not gonna work here anymore. Like I would either run or just stop working there. It would, you probably can't just stop working because it's kind of a secret shit and whatnot. That's what I'm saying. Like I probably have to run on whatnot. But like if it's the whole like whatever 30 people working there, if they all together say like, you know what, since tomorrow we're not gonna go, we're not gonna do anything. Like you can't really. I'm pretty sure you cannot easily replace those high top tier specialists who can develop a fucking hypersonic missile. Engines to it, all the like blades that can, you know, like what's it called, like change the direction, so on and so forth. All this, it's quite fucking advanced thing, right? And so apparently, one of the developer of the hypersonic missiles has been arrested. Has been arrested for high treason, basically, which is interesting. And I'm thinking why this Alexander Shipluk was arrested, and Maslov was also arrested apparently. Why they're being arrested? Either because they did not deliver what was promised. Like, let's say they promised that, oh, we can do this, definitely, whatever, and then they either stole money, like generally, like it's done in Russia, or maybe they were just promising, but they didn't want to lose their job, even though they knew that they couldn't deliver in time or as many the missiles that they have. I don't know, or have they actually said that they don't want to work on it anymore? I just don't know exactly, and obviously nobody's saying like why it's happening. Kolker apparently also was oh yes, the guy who died, yeah. Like literally they took the scientist who had like a fucking last stage of cancer from his clinic, and also tried to like basically jail him for high treason, and then he died in the hospital. It's fucking amazing. And and apparently people who actually have brains, they're trying to flee this country, which is good. They should do this because better develop these missiles for, I don't know, UK or US than for this shit show of a country. But yeah, I just don't know why. Like, that's the interesting thing, that why they've been right now charged for treason. I would want to know why. Because it's one thing when if a person is actually being decent and saying that after I've seen, like, I can no longer, support this country, I can no longer work on this extremely destructive weapons. And it's another if, like, he promised more than he can deliver, different things. Yeah. Roskomnadzor, which is Russian, basically Russian, I don't know how to put it even. It's like this regulating body that oversees the internet, basically. And it can block websites in Russian territory. Yeah, they blocked Patreon. Grammarly? Really? What the fuck? This is why Grammarly? And Grammarly apparently as well. Why the fuck Grammarly? This is quite insane. Alright, apparently they blocked it because of some magazine called Doha. I've never heard of this, to be honest, but it's something anti-war, it's Belarusian. Is it Belarusian? Really? No, Russian online student magazine. Okay. Whatever the fuck it is, right? Apparently because of one anti-war statement from this Doha thing, they just blocked the whole website because it's HTTPS and you can't really block just one single thing. Yeah, this goes back to, I was doing like a little recording yesterday of like another podcast of my own, and I was talking about the fact that it's actually so hard for Russians and Belarusians, of normal, regular, good people, to actually receive money if they don't want to support these regimes, if they don't want to work for like some governmental companies and so on and so forth, if they want to build sustainable their own brands and businesses, and they want to accept money as donations, as payments from people abroad, right? Like if let's say like you are good at painting something, right? If you want to sell your digital paintings, for example, work for somebody, people in the West don't even think how hard can it be when you don't have access to PayPal, to Stripe, something like that. And I, for example, for myself, I found a way like how can I use like a debit card, my debit card here, to accept payments from abroad, basically, right? Because PayPal doesn't work here, Stripe doesn't work here. These are two main basically tools to accept payments. So there is also a thing called Payoneer, right? And everything was fine before the war, but because my bank is actually the same Russian bank as Sberbank, it got under sanctions, got sanctioned by the West, and even that one thing that I found that I spent like exorbitant amount of time to find this tool, to find how I can do this, it was boom, taken away from me. And Patreon is the same, obviously, for a lot of people, once again, a lot of like digital creators, a lot of digital nomads, a lot of freelancers, a lot of IT people, maybe even, who might, like make a little tool that is useful to a lot of people, and then just put a Patreon there, and like, you can support me there if because Patreon, a lot of people have Patreon account, it's basically like, yeah. I mean, PayPal, yeah, whatever. The thing is that when things like that are happening, it really really affects just regular law-abiding people, especially like more libertarian kind of leaning people who want to do things on their own. You know what I mean? And just let me accept money, and I'll figure out the rest, right? And yeah, this time around, it's not like uh, the West who actually blocked the service, who's taken away service from Russia. This time is actually Russia who's done this. But what I'm saying is that things like that are really detrimental to people who will be most likely opposing this regime. So yeah, just wanted to acknowledge this little fact because this is not particularly great, and especially if it's just because of this fucking one statement. Like, yeah, cool guys, you did this, yeah, fuck war, and now a shit ton of people cannot accept the fucking payments. Cool. I mean, wow, you've done it. Great. I mean, yeah, whatever. It's what's done is done. You can access, obviously, it's like via VPN or something like that. But yeah, just saying that things like that, yeah, increase the difficulty for good Russians, and not all Russians are bad Russians. What we were talking about Turkey and Russia, apparently West does say that there could be some consequences if Turkey will actually continue to help Russia to evade sanctions and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's quite a good news, I guess, because Financial Times is saying that Western bureaucrats are actually thinking that there could be sanctions on Turkey as well if it continued to play with Putin way too much, which is good, obviously. Right then. This is one news that this is the news that I talked about, that in Russia there is a ruling class, and then there is everyone else. There's everyone else. A billionaire, Igor Etkin, was sentenced to what? To 1 year of restrictions of freedom, basically, to 1 year. Was sanctioned to 1 year for killing a human. He said that he was hunting a bear wherever. In fact, he shot a man, and then that's it. He spent like under home arrest 9 months, and that's it. First, he could have faced up to 15 years for intentional murder. Then it was unintentional murder, and then it was like murder through imprudence, something like that. And he also killed a bear without a license. And he spent like 9th month in his giant house billionaire. And that's it. Well, billionaire is billionaire in rubles. Okay, not in dollars. Okay. Russia for you. One law for us, another for you. It's pretty sad. 30 years old man was killed, and this governor, it's not governor, deputy bureaucrat, gonna get nothing. That's the Russia. That's the lawless Russia for you. That's the lawless Russia for you. All while insulin is being in real scarcity in Russian pharmacies, because Russia cannot even create their own insulin. Even if they are making their own insulin, they are importing the components to create the insulin. So people with insulin dependency better fucking buy things in advance, because things might get worse. This is sad. This is just sad, you know. What's interesting is that and this is I have never thought that I would read this news, that manufacturing of production of alcohol in Russia has dropped by 20%. If you compare July to July 2022 to July 2021, 20% is a lot. That's a lot. Vodka has dropped 15%. Overall alcohol almost 20%, vodka down 15%. That's a lot. I wonder why. I really wonder why, though. It is because people actually get so poor they don't even drink anymore, or I don't know. I really don't know. But it's really interesting. Really interesting news. I did not think that I'm gonna see a news like that. Okay. There is also a law right now being passed. I mean, it's not passed, but they're thinking about doing this. Basically, government can take any private information from any business into their own sort of informational system. What it means is that, let's say you're Yandex, let's say you're Google, let's say you're just giant tech company, right? Because, like I said before, Russia did not put any money into IT, into high tech companies, into these areas, into these industries. Now they want those like patterns, that information on individual people. And so what they want to do is, without developing anything, on their own, of anything by themselves, they simply want to come to, let's say, Google and say, give us the data, of such and such individual, for example. Or if you, with like VK, it's slightly different. It's like the Facebook of Russia. Because it's already controlled by KGB and all these fucking cunts and mafia and government, so they can do it already right now. But let's say if it's like a foreign or semi-independent business right now, they want to pass this law that would force companies to provide all the information that the companies have this is quite insane. This is quite insane. And it's and there were like people who don't understand like why exactly it matters. And there was a guy like explaining that like you don't really get like government does need exactly those like data that he doesn't have. Otherwise, this law wouldn't exist, or they wouldn't need this law. Right now, the government doesn't have your search queries in the Yandex, for example, your geolocation, your friends graph from VK, which is again like VK. I think they can have it because once again, it's like controlled by Putin's friends, basically. Yeah, they can ask for it, but then you have to go through the whole procedure in the like limits of the law, and actually you have to show that this particular person is being suspected in anything, and if this law will be passed, then the government doesn't need anything. They can just, it's gonna be this fucking Chinese basically system that everything is monitored, all the information is in the hands of the government, and giant like even the fact that if this law will be passed, like this is one of the most kind of offensive things that the government might get access to is the geolocation of humans, of people of Russia. This is like really dangerous, even really dangerous. So yeah, this is a law that like in July there were discussions about it. I haven't seen that it's actually passed, so it's probably still either like keeping either the government keeps it under wraps, or it's like still in development. I'm not sure really, but yeah, that's something quite important that I think more and more people should know about. Obviously in Russia, but like it's not like Russian people can do anything right now anymore. Yeah. Another law that is almost equally as insane is basically the law that has been already passed, and that's the law that basically will force all the digital ads to be published only via governmental operator of advertisements, which means basically that like companies like Avito, like companies basically like whatever, like you could say like something like Craigslist, eBay, whatever. If we compare it, can't post ads basically, which is I mean in English it's called classified. There's like ad boards, things like that. Yeah, and this is already passed. I'm pretty sure it was passed in July. At least like it was passed. Was it passed, or was it passed just like? No, it's not passed yet, but it's passed like through certain branches of the governmental Duma, which is like a parliament in Russia, and the president didn't sign it yet, but the fact that it's already going through all the motions means that probably it will be passed. Which once again, nothing has changed since 1917 and since the February, October revolutions in Russia. Basically, people who have never created anything, who have never done real business, who are just push papers bureaucrats, Chinusha once again, they are just coming and want to expropriate and nationalize and basically steal businesses that people have been building for years and years and years. And this is exactly what's happening once again with all those air quotes, nationalizations of McDonald's, of Starbucks, of, again, this kind of stuff. Like, this ruling class in Russia, they're just stealing everything that West has created, or good entrepreneurial minds of Russia have created, and they're just stealing it. And they think it's okay, and they think that it's gonna go well. It's not. And in fact, people who have been visiting McDonald's, who visited McDonald's once it's opened after the acquisition, they said, yeah, at that time it was pretty much the same. Now, like after a month or so, they're saying that they start noticing cockroaches. They start noticing that the quality of food is going down, and it's been just 1 month, or maybe 2 months. I think 1 month or so after this nationalization or stealing of all those restaurants. If these people think that businesses will go back to Russia once the war has ended, once whatever, it's not gonna happen. People will have learned their lessons. Interesting though, interesting. European Union have lifted the ban of at least some goods, aviation related, which is really interesting, because I was telling you about the fact that Russia is actually scrambling for parts and disassembling the planes just to get some parts for their planes. And this was in July 23rd of July. In this like new like 6 package of sanctions, I think they actually lifted certain sanctions, which is, I don't know. I really don't know about it. I really don't know about this. Because like, I mean, Russia has stole those planes. Like, why would you allow now, after 3-4 months of basically what of a ban? Why would you allow now to service those planes? Like who the fuck knows in what kind of a condition they are right now? I just don't get it, but whatever. Okay. There were also news about the fact that that EU sanctions tweaked to unblock Russian oil deals with third countries, and yeah, Rosneft, Gazprom will be able to ship oil to third countries. I think this is kind of a what is Latvia doing right now? That they're saying that they're not gonna issue visas to Russians, and yet through some third parties they're trying to buy oil from Russia. I mean, very interesting how it works. Very interesting how it works. One sad thing is that Zelensky said that about 30 people, 30 Ukrainian people, soldiers, are killed per day. During the peak of the war, which was like in May, apparently, May or June, up to between 100 and 200 soldiers have been killed per day. So 30 is definitely way less, but this is 30 people per day dying. That's a lot. That's really a lot. That's really a lot. Once again, as I've been talking before, that Germany no longer sees Russia as a reliable gas supplier. Like I've mentioned before, is going to continue more and more. Hopefully, at least it's going to continue more and more. Because how can you trust somebody that does this? But yeah, once again, what we've talked before is the fact that this ЧВК Wagner is trying to recruit people from prisons. It's been reported in several different outlets, so seems like it's exactly that. And what's interesting is that how like those people, ЧВК Wagner were recruited from prisons, but there's also another thing that's going on, that just people from poor regions, like this war of Moscow, of Kremlin, is being fought by people from all across the Russia, from the poorest regions from Russia. So people are being promised like 100,000 rubles per month, 200,000 rubles per month. So you could understand, like, if we go by official exchange rate, it's about $2,000, something like that. $2,000 for a month of war. And if you die, your family will get basically how much will they get? 5 million rubles, which is what? What is this? $100K. Roughly, it depends like what kind of exchange rate you apply. If it's like 55 wherever, it's less. If it's 70, it's even less. So if you die, your family gets anywhere from like 70 to $100,000, and for 1 month in a war zone, you will get 1.5K to 2K. It depends, maybe 3K, depending on the situation. So I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before in another stream, but this is not the money that people should be risking their life for. Like you can earn money like that some other way. So yeah, I wanted to tell you a little story about also. Well, let's just talk a little bit about the founder of Pink Floyd, Roger Waters, who is apparently the same branded moron as an Oliver Stone. Interestingly enough, apparently, Waters is saying that like why Biden wouldn't kind of force Zelensky to have some sort of basically negotiations or conversations, talks with Russia to stop this war, so on and so forth. It's like he was saying that it's like NATO at fault for provoking Russia in 2014 when they've created uprising in Ukraine, which is false, which is lies, because in 2014 it was 2014 in Ukraine was what 2020 was in Belarus. Free people have had enough of the bullshit. They wanted to get to a good point. They wanted to create more democratic country. They want to get out of the influence of dictators, Russia. They wanted to go to the West. Same was in Ukraine. Same was in Belarus. But because in Belarus there is already a dictator, and there was already a dictator for many, many years who was shaking hands with Putin before a lot of people were fucking born. And in Ukraine there was just a pro-Russian president at that point, not candidate, but they didn't really have the same vicious and brutal murderous apparatus that was in place in Belarus. Actually, Ukrainian people were able to overcome just the situation and show solidarity, and their protests, they ended up giving them a decent, at least, pivot to the Europe. Because once again, they've changed presidents, they've signed documents again allowing Ukrainians to travel to Europe without visas, for example. And in general, they have displayed this willingness and wish to join Europe and break away from Russia and from that past. And once again, in Belarus, it was the same in 2020 with the different outcome, unfortunately. And this Roger Waters does not understand this or doesn't want to understand this, and he's a fucking brained cunt. That's what I want to say. And Alexander Sherba, which is ambassador, Ukraine's ambassador, he was saying, Roger Waters is of the world, all those who during a cruel war choose a side of neutrality or the aggressor. At some point you'll know this was the defining point by which you will be judged, not only by all the tortured, crippled, murdered Ukrainians, but by the history. And he is completely correct. And Roger Waters is the guy who created fucking the wall and all of this fucking stuff, you know? Like, he was many years ago apparently quite an influential figure with some brain cells, and now he's just a senile moron like fucking Oliver Stone, which is kind of, I don't know if it's a shame, really. I don't give a fuck about them, but it's a shame that people like that exist. It's a shame that they are these famous people who might influence quite a lot of people. That's quite unfortunate. One interesting thing has happened that in Russian Navy hospital in Sevastopol, apparently 8 soldiers died and 18 in critical condition after they were poisoned. Their food was poisoned by rat poison. And I like again, like, a lot of people were like commenting this like on Twitter. I've seen like with the same meme of Ukraine, like, we're so happy, or like, we're so lucky, they're so fucking stupid. But I am wondering if it's really accidental, because, you know, wounded Russian Navy in Sevastopol, maybe even perhaps somebody from Moscow cruiser ship, you know, the missile cruiser Moscow that sank to the bottom of the ocean. Perhaps maybe there was somebody alive from that thing, who knows? And now 8 soldiers dead, 18 in critical conditions. Maybe somebody is just covering their own fucking traces, covering their own butt. I don't know, just saying. A lot of people have started to die in the past like 2 months, in like high up in the Russian army, just in general, like people basically who are somehow involved basically with Russian army, with this war, generals, commanders. A lot of people are dying suddenly. Those people who were basically the leaders of this occupied territories. Some of them are dying. One of them is in coma right now. Just saying. Awful lot of accidents and similarities. Don't know. One interesting piece of news is that Russians have destroyed Mariupol, and right now they want to, or some of them want to rebuild it. And who's going to be rebuilding it? Well, it's so interesting because apparently, that guy that we talked about before, Marat Husnulin, we were talking about his son that will become one of the biggest agricultural landowner in Russia. Apparently his father, vice premier, once again, is creating some special basically headquarters, special special headquarters, and they will decide who's going to be rebuilding Mariupol, basically. And it's going to be most likely military construction company. It might be somebody like Alimstroy, apparently. It might be something, whatever, EKS, something like that. The fact of the matter is that it's going to be people who are really have close ties with Russian military personnel, with Siloviki, actually, not military personnel, Siloviki, which is like a real caste of their own, like again, Silovik, you can just Google this term in Wikipedia. Well, actually, I can do it for you and tell you. It's basically a person who works in police, army, drug control, prosecutor's office, Ministry of Justice, FSB, which is kind of FBI, whatever, or KGB actually, political office, GRU, once again, it's like an FBI for intelligence services, like a CIA, protective service. So basically, all those cunts who are for this war, who are protecting Putin, something like that. And so these people these people have destroyed Mariupol, and now they're gonna be rebuilding Mariupol with friends of Putin and other people who have stolen quite a lot of money in Russia already. Let's put it that way. There's a big article on iStories Media and in Twitter, iStories _media, from August 9th, 2022. So if anybody's interested, you can definitely go take a look. I mean, Google Translation is pretty good right now, so you can just even easily go and translate it via Google, and it's going to give you pretty decent results. Let's put it that way. So this is so cynical. They go and destroy everything, then they're gonna go rebuild. Who's gonna pay for it? Obviously, Russian citizens with their taxes. And this is so once again sad, I guess. That the fact that a lot of Russian people and Belarusian people, for that matter, they just don't understand that the government is not some special magical thing or whatever. It is the thing that people are paying for with their taxes. And so if they're paying for it, they should held accountable. They should be held accountable. They should be just held accountable, for fuck's sake. Like, a lot of people just don't understand the fact that they're paying almost like 5% of taxes. Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. But that's the case. All right. I have only like just few news left. Basically, Belarus is getting S-300, S-400 systems. Is this Iskander systems, which is not good because they can carry nuclear ballistic missiles. They have arrived at the airport of Gomel. Gomel is tracking all sorts of military equipment movements across the Belarus, missiles that were launched from Belarusian territory, or like planes that were flying from Belarusian territory, so on and so forth. So, this is not particularly great. I'm not sure why it's been done, in a sense that, just why it's been done. I'm not particularly sure why it's been done. Either because Lukashenko asked for this, or maybe like I just don't see the particular necessity of these missiles in Belarus, to be honest. I'm kind of perplexed, really. It's not like I mean, if this is just Belarus like asked for it, once again, why? Are you gonna like try to get into the war with Russia against Ukraine, and so you kind of want to use it against Ukraine, these missiles? If not, do you really need them? Like your army is pretty in shambles. Like, what this thing's gonna do? Okay, you're gonna fire like 4 of them. What's next? Or is it like Russia exerting their influence over mustache fucking dictator and just basically putting it there, like closer to the borders of NATO? That could be the reason. If that's the reason, okay, I can see it, because the dictator basically put himself into quite a pickle situation, quite a scenario, and so maybe he doesn't even have a chance anymore. Just would want to know more about this, to be honest. But I thought I would bring it to light, basically. Yeah. Once again, it's 9th of August it was reported, so yeah. Okay. I think anybody already who's interested in the news have heard that CBS have published some garbage video, and also Amnesty International has published some garbage report. These people, especially Amnesty International, I don't know why they're doing this. It was a mistake, really. Well, it's not a mistake. They are just doing some really bad things and trying to put a blame on actually side that's trying to defend their territory and trying to not being wiped out from the planet. So I don't know. Really don't know why would especially like an organization like Amnesty International, for fuck's sake, publish something like that. Somebody paid an exorbitant amount of money. I'm pretty sure, or at least I'm suspecting, which is not particularly great, and not particularly great look, especially when a lot of high tier people are resigning from your organizations in different countries, Ukraine included. Okay, two more things I want to talk to you about. Basically, there was this metal rolling factory in Miori, and what's interesting in Belarus, and what's interesting is that dictator nationalized it. People have put 400 million euros into this factory, and then just before Lukashenko was visiting that factory, basically, this factory was, how to put it bluntly, it was basically stolen from people, stolen from the owners of the people. Because what's happened is that, once again, before Lukashenko was visiting the factory, the aforementioned Siloviki, which is this really big oppression mechanism in both Russia and Belarus, who would just go, this is like the fight dogs of the regimes. They visited the factory. I'm pretty sure, just created some fake created some fake some fake whatever article paragraph, and put in jail a few high up people. general manager of the factory, his vice president, vice president for economy and finance, and Soviet the head of the board. Yeah. Just so you know, like these kinds of things, they happen all the time. And once again, like I've said about Russia, this is exactly the same sort of recipe. How this Siloviki is doing things, and how these regimes are doing things here. You invite investors. Investors bring a lot of money. They create factory. They employ people. They create all the processes and whatnot, and then some search comes. And when search comes, it basically means that you're done. You're done already. So yeah, there is even this term. I'm not sure. Will it? Will it actually translate correctly, this term? No, it's like ring. Ring out. Don't know. No, okay, this is not. It's just like a. Okay, whatever. I'm wasting too much time. There is this term called ajat in Russian language, which means basically to steal from you, but like in this exactly in this manner. Like you're doing all the things, and then somebody just comes, and comes when everything is ready already, and just takes it from you. And it's usually governmental and this oppressive KGB basically guys. So this is exactly what's happened in 2020, 2021, 2020. This factory was on. In 2020, if we can recall for a second, was the year when the elections were stolen. So who knows? Maybe these people even like said something against this current dictator, usurper of power, right? So maybe Petr Shumakovich, Dmitry Slavnikov, Alexei Kovalyonok, maybe they've even said something. Who knows? I don't know. I didn't pay attention to this. But then in 2021, in the summer, once again, Lukashenko was about to visit this factory, but no, before him, his loyal dogs actually entered that factory, fabricated some case, and jailed top 3 people. And then people, workers of this factory, are saying that the problems have started actually after this hostile takeover. Hostile takeover is actually Ajim предприятий, factories. This is basically hostile takeover. Yeah, this is exactly the term that I was searching for. Thank you, my brain, that you eventually figured it out. Yeah, and so the factory was all right, as people are saying themselves. Factory was all right, is doing well, is doing decent. And after the chinovniki, after these officials, bureaucrats, have started to save that factory after they fucking jailed people who actually put their money, resources, and everything, then things turned to shit. What do you know? Like the whole book, Atlas Shrugged, is about exactly that. And a lot of people don't understand that book, and I think a lot of people are fucking stupid if they don't understand that book. Because that book is exactly about this. Is about the fact that the governmental officials, and especially governmental officials is one thing, like corruption, bureaucracy. This is one thing. This is one thing in like democratic countries, United States, Germany, Canada, wherever, UK. Everybody has problems with this kind of stuff, but it's a whole totally different, absolutely level when we're talking about autocracies and dictatorships like Belarus, like Russia. This hostile takeovers is absolutely happening all the fucking time. Private projects are being taken over by government when they see like, oh, okay, things are doing pretty well. I didn't build this factory, somebody else did. We don't get really a lot of profits from it because whatever, something. Let's take it over. And then we're gonna get all the profits. This is exactly how it happens. This is exactly what happened to this Myorский металлопрокатный завод, Myorский metal rolling factory. And it's just another thing that will bite in the ass this stupid fucking country, this time of Belarus, because once again, 400 million euros is nothing to fucking shy about, It's a lot of money. And so if you've stolen, and this is what it is exactly, you've stolen this factory from legal owners, from like real owners. Next time, if somebody will think about starting a business in Belarus or Russia, they will think twice. And then maybe they will just go and create something in whatever, United States, Germany, something like that. It's just, this ruling class, this bureaucrats, this mafia at the top of the countries of Belarus and Russia, they are destroying everything. Yeah. All right. One last thing. Just wanted to take a look at this as the guy sharing his experience of getting a COVID in China right now. It's been published 1 day ago, so it's 9th of August. It's been published 2022, right? And so his experience is quite insane. I mean, I don't know, like just his experience or just in general, this kind of experience is quite insane. So he gets basically like a red QR code in the phone, and it says that basically he was walking somewhere close to the guy who was tested positive for COVID, right? And so, I mean, like, okay, I was walking somewhere close to somebody who gives a fuck. Like, do I have a COVID? Not really. Like, what the fuck? Okay, so then a car, special car comes to him. He got labeled. He got like a red label on his shoulder. Then he takes like some very little clothes, food, whatever, just bare minimum. And then they're put in the bus, and then they're transferred into another city 300 kilometers away, 4-hour drive, and the guy is documenting this. And he's not going into fucking hotel for a little vacation, let's put it that way. Looks like he's explaining it that it looks like some kind of a refugee camp or like some fucking penal colony or something like that, like a fucking jail. And then basically he gets registered. He gets disinfected with some chemicals or something like that. Then taken like a sample for a test, and then he gets put into something that you should actually take a look. Like if this is just if you're gonna be just listening to this, I'm gonna include a link to the story, and it's I don't know. It looks like a prison camp. There are bars on windows. It's little rooms, just little rooms for solo people. You can't even go there like with your wife or something like that. Only like if you have a child or something like that, I think. If you have a child, then maybe wife can be with a child, but man and woman cannot be together. Apparently, this location, this prison camp, filtration camp, is for like 12,000 people, so it's huge. Inside of the room there's like a toilet and shower stall, bed. I mean, there is like air conditioner, actually, interestingly enough, and TV, so it's not completely devoid of like comforts, but it's just like a little wagons, like little trailers. I don't even know how to describe it. Like a little cargo containers. It looks like the size of cargo containers, something like that. Maybe a bit bigger, I guess. But then they got a little bit of a food, some like hair dryer, things like that, like little belongings, like little personal things, like toothbrush, so on and so forth. And then in the morning they've got some, or in the daytime actually, they've got some food, pretty decent looking food. I don't know how tasty it was, but the fact that just because he walked to somebody close to someone who got COVID, not even stayed, like in one like whatever restaurant, something like that. It's because he was walking close to a person who had COVID. He's been transported 400 kilometers away. He's been put on quarantine. Like, once again, metal bars on the fucking windows. He's saying that he can lock the door from the inside, but I'm thinking, like, can they lock from the outside and you cannot leave at all? I'm not sure, given the fact that things have been really bad in China, in like Hong Kong and so on and so forth, with their zero COVID policies and quarantines and so on and so forth. This is quite insane. And he's staying there right now, I guess. So just interesting, and just the fact that this is happening is kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in China ever anymore, let's put it that way. All right. Mediterranean buyers return to market for Russian crude oil. This is what we were talking about before, that apparently this relaxation of certain sanctions on Russia has turned some people in Europe to buy again Russian oil, Russian gas. With gas, once again, Russia is shooting themselves in the foot. With oils, they sell it, and it's just hypocrisy once again. Certain European countries, let's put it that way, Western European countries, want to ban Russians from entering Europe, and yet buying Russian oil and gas is completely, totally fine. I just don't understand this position. Once again, on the same news that Estonia was talking about banning Schengen visas. Like I said, it's been quite a fucking topic in the Russian blogosphere, apparently, because even Dmitry Medvedev, who was a president of fucking Russia, for fuck's sake, he has turned since the beginning of this war into absolutely brain dead fascist. He's saying that main Ukrainian clown is calling all Russian people to bear responsibility for this invasion. And last time a person who's been talking about this was Adolf Hitler. Is there any other questions about the nature of Ukrainian officials, of Ukrainian government? This is Dmitry Medvedev in his Twitter, in his Telegram, saying this. And then he's kind of trying to jab this Estonian lady, right, Kaya Kallas, that she was saying that visiting Europe is a privilege, not a right of a human, which, once again, we're tiptoeing really, really, really thin line here, in my opinion. But Medvedev saying that after Ukrainian dude, another Nazi shit in the direction of human, or in the direction of Russian citizens, was thrown by this Estonian lady. That once again, the visiting Europe is a privilege and not a right of humans. And I would like to remind her other words. The fact that you are still out there free, basically, is not your... Oh my god, after 3 hours my brain is melting already. Oh my god, can I please translate it correctly? Holy shit. Is not your merit, really? It's our incompletion. Basically he's threatening this lady, saying that the fact that she is still roaming free is not really her merit, but Russians' imperfection, kind of a incompleteness, something like that. Saying that, I don't even know what he's saying. I think he's fucking drinking every day, probably way too much that he should. One more thing, last thing this time. On a pipeline, Nord Stream 2, Russians have put a little banner, not little, I guess you could say it banner, wrote on the pipeline that visiting Europe is a privilege. Kaya Kallas, Prime Minister, or she's a Prime Minister, okay, Prime Minister of Estonia, and on this website called Peekaboo, which is like Russian Reddit, I guess you could say, there is a lot of like Russian bots and trolls who are forcing memes right now, that showering in hot water, this is not a right of a human, this is a privilege. Heating in winter, it's not a right of person, it's a privilege. Working factories is not a right of a country, it's a privilege. Electricity in a flat is not a right, it's a privilege. From Russia with love. And then there are a few photos of which is more interesting. One of the visiting Europe is a privilege. One of them on a Nord Stream 2. The shit does not work. So that's fun already. I'm not sure, like, I can see that. I feel like it's I feel like this is just Photoshop. I'm pretty sure it's a Photoshop, because it's especially noticeable on the second picture. So it's not like really what's been done in the field. So it was just a quick Photoshop, I'm pretty sure. But the fact that one of them is being put like literally on a pipeline, Nord Stream 2, which does not work, and which basically Germany said, well, fuck this, or Europe said, fuck this shit, we don't need it. This is just a cherry on top. which apparently these stupid trolls didn't even fucking notice what they're talking about, what they're memeing on. And also, like we've talked before, Europe will survive even if they will go through like a tough winter, they will remember it for a long time. Well, okay, maybe not long time, but they will remember it for a couple next years. And I'm pretty sure they will make sure that Russia is not a player on a European market ever again. Not in the next decade for sure. And like we've established before, up to 80% of exports of Russian energy goes to Europe. So, yeah. These people are memeing, and it's just stupid people who are just trying to get some points from morons, basically, without really understanding the situation they're getting themselves into, that the government is getting them into. And yeah. So that's that. And also, just an interesting thing that Sputnik vaccine from COVID, Russian vaccine, the production has dropped 30 times. 30 times. 2 million doses versus 85. How about that? And now 97% drop of vaccines, and now apparently Russians are allowed to use expired vaccine after this insane drop. This is just insane. Like these governmental officials, bureaucrats, Silviki, all of them, they're just shitting. They're just like opening the mouths and ears and eyes of Russian people. They're just shitting there. And what's even worse, and what I don't understand really how it fucking happens, is that a lot of Russians are like gargling out this thing. Like they're just taking it all in. I don't get it. And a lot of people in Belarus actually the same. Like they or maybe at least like in my surrounding, unfortunately. In my family, I mean, not even surrounding. Anyway, that's been that. It's been 3.5 hours. It's been a fucking long one, but I haven't done a lot of them, a lot of these streams for a long time, and I've been quite inconsistent before. So I feel like I am going to do this every Wednesday probably, and we're gonna aim like at least an hour. This one was definitely way longer than it probably should have been, but I had a lot of news and things that I wanted to share. All right. Okay. I'll see you in the next one. Please take care, and please subscribe to the channels. If this is gonna be in the form of a podcast, subscribe to a podcast as well. Subscribe on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, and please, if you can, I would really appreciate it if you can donate on Buy Me Coffee, or just general go to criticaldiscussions.net. There are all the links that you need. I would really appreciate it. So yeah, with this out of the way, I think we're done. All right, till the next one.